I should have seen the red flags waving months ago, but love can blind you, can't it? I'm Ethan, 33, and I was engaged to Sophie, 30, for 9 months after dating for 3 years. Our wedding was planned for next month, 200 guests, a stunning lakeside venue, everything meticulously arranged. But last Tuesday, over a quiet dinner at home, Sophie dropped a bombshell that flipped my world upside down. "I invited Lucas to the wedding," she said, casually stirring her soup. I nearly dropped my fork. Lucas was her college boyfriend of 5 years, the one she almost moved across the country for before they drifted apart. My stomach twisted. "You invited your ex to our wedding?" She looked at me like I'd overreacted. "Yeah, we're still friends. It'd be weird not to invite him." "Sophie, that's not exactly standard wedding etiquette." Her eyes narrowed. "If you really loved me, Ethan, you'd get it. It's mature to stay friends with an ex. Lucas is married now anyway. His wife's out of town, so he'll come alone." Something about her tone felt off, too polished, too rehearsed. "What's his wife's name?" I asked, keeping my voice light. She hesitated just a fraction too long. "Clara, why?" "Just curious, you've met her?" "Of course," she snapped, a bit too defensive. "A few times." "What's with the interrogation?" I forced a smile. "You're right, I'm being paranoid. If Lucas matters to you, I'm okay with it." She softened, leaning over to kiss my cheek. "This is why I love you, Ethan. You're so understanding." But I wasn't understanding. I was suspicious. That night, I couldn't sleep. Something gnawed at me, so I did what any reasonable person might in my shoes. I checked Lucas's social media. It didn't take long to find him. His wife, not Clara. Her name was Rachel, and her profile showed she was a local real estate agent, not halfway across the globe. Interesting. Over the weekend, I dug deeper. Sophie had left her tablet at my place, still logged into her messages. I know snooping isn't great, but when your fiancée invites her ex to your wedding and lies about his wife, you do what you gotta do. Their texts were cozy. Too cozy, nostalgic. Remember when chats, Lucas saying things like, "Wish we'd made it work," and Sophie replying, "Timing's a funny thing." My gut churned. By Monday, I had a plan. I messaged Rachel from my real account, keeping it polite but direct. "Hi, Rachel. I'm Ethan, Sophie's fiancé. We're getting married next month, and Sophie invited your husband, Lucas, to the wedding. She mentioned you were out of town, but I see you're local. I'd love to invite you as my guest to the reception at Lakeside Gardens on the 20th. Her reply came fast. "Out of town? That's news to me. I'm at my office in town. Lucas told me he's got a business trip that weekend. Thanks for the invite. I'll be there." Oh, this was going to be interesting. The next week was a tightrope walk. Sophie was all about wedding details, flowers, seating charts, the usual. She mentioned putting Lucas at table 4 with my old grad school buddies. "Why table 4? I asked, sipping my coffee. "He won't know anyone else," she said. "It'd be rude to stick him with strangers." "What about your aunts at table 8? She frowned. "No, that's too far from, table 4's better." "Too far from the head table," she almost said. I let it slide, but my suspicions grew. Meanwhile, Rachel and I exchanged a few more messages. She'd noticed Lucas acting shady. Late nights, glued to his phone, sudden gym obsession. Classic signs. I hinted at the texts I'd seen, not sharing everything but enough to confirm her fears. She was livid, not at me but at Sophie and Lucas. "That sneaky little," she wrote, trailing off. "They're gonna regret this." We hatched a plan for maximum impact with minimal chaos. Rachel would join me at the rehearsal dinner, not the wedding itself. If things went south, we'd keep the actual ceremony drama-free, assuming there'd even be a wedding after this. 2 days before the rehearsal dinner, Sophie was finalizing the guest list. "Just family and the bridal party, right?" I asked. "Yeah, and Lucas," she said. "I invited him to the dinner too." I raised an eyebrow. "Why? He's coming from out of town," she said. Another lie. Lucas lived 45 minutes away. "It's just polite." "Very thoughtful," I said, biting back a laugh. The day of the rehearsal dinner, I told Sophie I had to pick up a friend with car trouble. "I'll be quick," I said. "You go ahead to the restaurant, I'll meet you there." She was annoyed but didn't push back. I picked up Rachel, who looked ready for war in a sleek navy dress, her eyes sharp with determination. "You ready?" I asked. 3 years of marriage, and he's sneaking around with his ex," she said, buckling her seatbelt. "Oh, I'm ready." We arrived at the restaurant 30 minutes late, walking into the private dining room with about 35 people. Family, close friends, and of course, Lucas, seated right next to Sophie at the main table. She stood when she saw me, smiling. "Ethan, there you are," we were starting to worry. Then Rachel walked in behind me. The room went dead silent. Lucas's face drained of color like he'd seen a ghost. Sophie's smile froze. "Hi, sweetheart," Rachel said to Lucas, her voice dripping with mock sweetness. "Surprise, my trip got cancelled," Sophie stammered. "Rachel, I thought you were out of town." "Funny," Rachel said. "That's what Lucas told me about his client meeting this weekend. But Ethan was kind enough to invite me." I stepped forward, addressing the room. "Everyone, this is Rachel, Lucas's wife. Since Sophie was so keen on having Lucas here, I thought it only fair to include Rachel as my guest." My dad, quick on the uptake, grinned. "Rachel, come sit by us. Plenty of room." The tension was thicker than the steak on the menu. Sophie tried to play it cool, but her hands shook as she picked up her water glass. "So, Rachel," she said, voice wobbling, "how long have you and Lucas been together?" 3 years, Rachel said, swirling her wine. "But I'm curious, Sophie, how long have you been texting my husband?" Forks clattered. My cousin Nate choked on his bread. Lucas stared at his plate like it might save him. "We're just friends," Sophie said weakly. Rachel pulled out her phone. "Friends don't text at 2 a.m. Friends don't send miss you messages. Should I read some aloud?" Lucas finally spoke, his voice tight. "Rachel, not here." "Not here," she laughed. "Where then? At your fake client meeting? Or maybe when you're sneaking off to meet Sophie?" My best man, Mike, muttered. "This is wild," loud enough for the table to hear. Sophie turned to me, eyes brimming. "Ethan, this is a misunderstanding." "Is it?" I said, calm but firm. "Is that why you lied about Rachel's name, calling her Clara? Why you put Lucas at table 4 near us? Why you invited him to this dinner?" "You set me up," Sophie hissed. "No, Sophie, you set yourself up. I just made sure Rachel got an invite to your little reunion." Sophie's mom stood, voice shaking. "What's going on here?" Rachel didn't miss a beat. "Your daughter's been having an emotional affair with my husband. Maybe more. She made sure I wouldn't be here by lying about my whereabouts." "That's not true," Sophie shouted. I pulled out my phone. "Want me to show everyone the texts? Like the one where Lucas says he can't wait to see you walk down the aisle, and you reply, 'Only if Ethan's the right choice.'" The room erupted. Sophie's dad slammed his hand on the table. "At your wedding, you were going to decide at the altar." I couldn't help it. I laughed. "Well, that makes this easier." I pulled an envelope from my jacket. "Here's my wedding gift, Sophie. The invoice for the $20,000 in deposits I paid for the venue, catering, and band. Non-refundable, all in my name. Since your family insisted on a traditional wedding where I cover the costs, you can reimburse me if you want to use them for your next one. Maybe with Lucas, post-divorce." Her dad's jaw dropped. "You paid for everything." "Every cent," I said. "Sophie wanted the deluxe packages." Rachel stood, turning to Lucas. "And you, expect divorce papers by Friday. I'm taking the condo and half your savings. Good luck." Sophie's sister Lily, who'd been quiet, finally spoke. "Sophie, you're an idiot. Ethan's a catch, and you threw it away for this guy." The dinner ended in chaos. Sophie's family arguing, Rachel bonding with my dad over dessert, and me feeling like a weight had lifted off my chest. Lucas left without a word. Sophie was still crying when I walked out. The next few days were a whirlwind. Sophie tried to win me back, showing up at my place with flowers and apologies, wearing a dress she knew I loved. "I'll cut Lucas off, Ethan, I swear. I was just confused." "Confused," I said. "You lied about Rachel's name and planned to use our wedding to test your feelings for Lucas. That's not confusion, it's betrayal." She tried to push past me. "We need to talk this out." "No, we don't. Leave or I'll call the front desk." When that failed, she went full victim mode online, posting about how I was jealous and controlling, ruining her dream wedding over a platonic friendship. She tagged our mutual friends, expecting sympathy. Big mistake. Rachel commented, "Platonic. Is that why you told Lucas I was out of town while seating him near your head table?" She included screenshots of texts, Lucas reminiscing about their old beach trips, Sophie replying, "Best nights of my life." The dates. During her supposed girls' weekend 3 months ago. Sophie's post backfired spectacularly. Her friends stopped responding, and her cousin publicly called her out. "This is embarrassing, Sophie. Take it down." Sophie's mom called me, voice heavy with shame. "Ethan, couldn't you have kept this private?" "Linda, I tried," I said. "Sophie made it public when she invited Lucas to our wedding. And about those deposits, $20,000 non-refundable, that's on you now." She went quiet, then sighed. "We'll handle it." A week later, Sophie's dad reached out. "Ethan, we need the vendor details to cancel everything. We'll cover the deposits." "All $20,000, I asked. "Yes, send the list." I did, and 2 days later, a check arrived. They were desperate to bury the scandal. Rachel's divorce moved fast. She found hotel receipts, late-night texts, and a burner phone Lucas hid in his gym bag. The kicker: a draft message where Lucas planned to object at our wedding, suggesting he'd sweep Sophie away if she gave him a sign. Sophie's reply: "So romantic. I'll see how I feel when I'm up there." I sent the screenshot to Sophie with one line: "Your soulmate, huh?" Her response was a rambling essay about how I was too predictable, how Lucas was her true love, how she'd only settled for me because I was safe. I forwarded it to her dad, who replied, "Good Lord. On what would have been our wedding day, I went hiking with my groomsmen, then hit a fancy burger joint Sophie always called overpriced." Mike showed me his phone mid-meal. Sophie had posted photos in her wedding dress at the venue, alone, with captions like, "The love that could have been and forgiveness is forever." The comments were savage. "This is unhinged. Didn't you cheat?" Her sister Lily wrote, "Sophie, stop. You're making a fool of yourself." Rachel's comments sealed it. "Same dress you were gonna wear while choosing between Ethan and my husband. Real classy." By morning, Sophie's accounts were private.